Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, we've come to another end of a week. We're in halfway in through July already, and we're going to do a quick update and talk about the book that I finished this week, and that was Shift by Hugh Howey. Of course, book 2 in the Silo series. I finished that. We're going to be discussing this book next. I am about a little over halfway through with Devil House by John Darnielle. I'm really digging this book. It's pretty cool. Of course, hopefully we'll talk about this next week. But kind of like this guy's a true crime novelist. Some of his movies get made into documentary, movies or things like that. And he's actually doing a story on this mass, but murders that happened in this house that people now call the Devil House. It's very interesting style of writing. I'm really digging that. We'll talk about that when we get done with it. Of course, I'm still continuing with my marvelous team up with Graz on the GKBC, and we're still reading Thirsty Mermaids. I will be posting the next updated chapter review of this tomorrow, probably, after you see this. So that's Thirsty Mermaids. I have not started Daughter of Darkness by Terry Brooks yet. I have not started Stephen King's Hearts in Atlantis yet. And for my super duper huge book read of the summer, Neil Stephenson, Anathema, I have not started this yet. I got to get this started because it's a whopper. And I mean, I have a couple months to finish it, but I haven't even started yet. So anyways, let's talk about Shift. All right, so Shift is book 2 in the Silo series. Let's go through the numbers real quick. Shift was originally published in 2013. My version, this mass paperback style version, has 570 pages in it. It's a pretty decent size. On Goodreads, it currently has a 4.12, which is really good. I'll tell you right off, I gave it a 3. I, unfortunately, was not as thrilled with this book as I was with book 1, Wool. I really dug Wool, and I was, hoping a continuation with Shift. Not as much, not quite as much. But let's talk about it real quick. What is Shift? So when you start reading this book, you realize immediately that it's like a prequel. We're going to set up why we were in the silos for Wool. We open up in the year 2049 with Donald Keene. Donald Keene is a congressman, and he is married to his lovely wife, Helen. They have a great relationship. You'll find that out in the book. Donald has been scheduled a meeting with his mentor, and his mentor is Senator Paul Thurman. Now, he stumped for Donald when he was running for Congress and pretty much got him elected. Why would Thurman do this? Well, Donald actually dated Thurman's daughter, Anna, when they were in college. Anna's heart still burns for Donald. She is still in love with Donald. That causes quite an issue with Helen, as you'll see throughout the book. But anyways, that's the connection I think that Thurman has with Donald. You'll see that Thurman is a cutthroat piece of crap, delusional, maniacal, dreams of... Thurman is the probably main antagonist in this book. But you'll meet him and you'll learn more about him. But really, he loves his daughter, Anna, and I think that's why he is helping Donald, taking Donald under his wing. Well, now he's asking Donald for this special meeting because Donald in college majored in architecture. And he has this plan to build these silos. And he's going to get Donald on board to help design these silos with the help of Anna. So he's kind of playing matchmaker, trying to bring them together on this project of his. We learn throughout the book really Thurman's plans from the beginning. He tells Donald that these silos are going to be for nuclear waste, to house nuclear waste, but they're going to design them with living quarters in case anything ever happened, you know, with this nuclear waste. If there was an accident or something, they would have a safe place to live until the nuclear fallout or whatever dissipates. So that's his ruse to get Donald on board. Plus, Donald thinks he owes him, you know, because he got him elected. So anyways, we go through the chapters, and at this point, you're going back and forth, back and forth. So we're starting in what would be current time, 2049, and then we're jumping ahead to actually living in the silos. They tell the story as we go, of course, how they get there, but 2110. So from 2049 to 2110, we go back and forth from silo 1 back to the present time. Back and forth as they're going through building these silos and things like that. So pretty much the first through, well, until chapter 17, you're going back and forth. Some people don't like that. I understand. It's all right. The chapters are quick, so you don't get like totally thrown out of what's going on. And it's really only 2, you know, not like some fantasy books where you've got 5 different things going on. But it's pretty quick, so it's not that bad. But in chapter 17, that's when we start what they call shift 1, the book shift. Here's where we learn what a shift is, what the meaning of the shift. Boy, can't talk. What the meaning of a shift is. So we start out, of course, with silo 1, and we meet this guy who's just being awoken from cryogenic sleep, and his name is Troy. Well, we find out quickly that Troy is actually Donald. He just doesn't realize it yet. So now during this section, we're jumping back and forth with silo 1 and the present time leading up to the whatever that makes people go to these silos. We do start learning that there are 50 silos, basically 1 for every state. Silo 1 is the special silo. I won't tell you everybody that's in silo 1 or everybody that isn't in silo 1. You can figure that out, find that out for yourself. But of course we've got Troy, who's Donald. And so we're going back and forth now, silo 1, and still leading up to the destruction of the world until we get to chapter 24. Now in chapter 24, we start shift 2. So now you start to see what happens is the people in silo 1 are the special people that are going to hopefully live through this whole cleansing of the earth to be able to come back out when it's safe to come out and repopulate the earth, maybe. So these people in Silo 1, they take shifts. Usually your shift lasts 6 months. You get awoken from cryogenic sleep. You do some menial labor jobs in the silo. Some, of course, are more important. And then you go back after 6 months, you get put back to sleep. And that could be years. Because you can see now, we've already jumped ahead almost 100 years. And so in shift 2, we're now in the year 2212. So now we're like 200 years in the future. They talk about maybe this going on for 500 years before they're able to come out of the silos. But we learn a lot of other things now. We really start learning what's going on with the politics of Silo 1 being these exclusive people, really run by Senator Thurman. Of course, he's there. Anna is there. Thurman is still trying to hook up Donald with Anna, because now at this point in shift 2, Donald has all his memories back. When he's awoken, he knows who he is. He's no longer Troy. He's now Donald. And so in this shift 2, we're in Silo 1, 2212, but then the other chapters take place in Silo 18. We know Silo 18, of course, from Wool. And what they call it is the Great Uprising. So apparently there was actually an uprising, and they talk about it in Wool, in Silo 18. So we learn what happens in Silo 18. What was this big uprising? We meet this character, Mission. Mission is a younger man who is a porter. You know, one of the people that carries things up and down the levels of the silo. And his interaction with a woman they call the Crow. The Crow is a teacher. And the Crow is one of these people who kind of remembers and kind of knows what's going on. She is an influencer because she has all these children coming through her classes year in and year out. And she kind of influences the way that they think. This is how this uprising in Silo 18 takes place. We learn how, not only how that comes to be, but how Silo 1, the powers that be, the leaders, handle this uprising in Silo 18. We find out that they've handled other such uprisings in other silos. We won't go into that. So we see all that take place and what happens in Silo 18, how it gets resolved. It does get resolved, as we know, because in Wool, that's where we start. We're in Silo 18. And so next, we're coming up to chapter 58, and we've got shift 3. Shift 3 is when the shit starts hitting the fan. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because this is where the story probably, for me, finally gets kind of interesting. We find out what happened to Silo 17. So you remember Juliet in Wool is in 18. She has to clean. She figures out how to seal up her soup properly, goes out, finds her way to Silo 17, and Silo 17 is everyone's dead except Jimmy, or Solo. She meets him, and we learn that's how Wool eventually comes to an end. So now in shift 3, we are in the year 2345. And that's pretty much the current time that we're in when Wool starts. So 2345, Now we're like 300 years after the Holocaust, and we find out what happened in Silo 17. Silo 17, that story takes place in 2312. So, 43 years before the current time for wool. I hope I'm not being, but we're learning what happened in Silo 17 up until 2345. We meet, of course, Jimmy and his story. Jimmy Parker as a small kid. What happens in Silo 17. His whole life, years of being alone, or is he alone, in Silo 17. Of course, when Juliet finally goes there, he is calling himself Solo. So we get to meet him. And then finally, the last sentence of this book is when you see the name Juliet, and Donald is talking over the wires to Juliet. That's how this book closes. Boom. Pretty much where this book closes. So, what do I think? Why did I give it a 3? So, I have dabbled in writing myself. I've written 2 books and many short stories. I've never had anything published or anything. But one of the things, of course, you learn in writing, creative writing or whatever, is show, don't tell. My issue with this book, Shift, this whole book is a tell. Yes, there's story here, but they use this thin story to really just get you to understand, why we had wool. Yeah, it's just not the greatest for me. I don't dislike it. No, I gave it a 3 for me, so that's average. It's enjoyable. It definitely does inform, information for wool, and that's great. But it just seems too much. Yes, it's not info dumping, the evil telling, not showing, but it's almost like contrived. The whole time you're sitting there saying, okay, this is kind of like just telling me what happened before. I don't know if maybe it should have been released, in order, but you know how things are. People have an idea, they write the story blows up, is popular, like wool. Now you got to go back and write more. Your publisher wants more. Everybody wants more. That's why I think this is a little weaker. Not bad. Don't diss it. Don't not read it. But it was too much of telling me this story of what happened. There is kind of a twist here that we find out about this pact that these 3 main leaders of this idea for the Solos and the end of the earth. We learn about that. We learn about what happens to all these other characters. It is important. It is decent. I just personally am not rating this as high as I did Wool. I hope the next book is better. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Probably in a couple months. But anyways, real quick, that's my feelings on Shift. I liked it. It's just nothing too special for me anyways. All right, guys. As usual, if you find any entertaining value in my videos, please like, subscribe, leave me comments, and until next time, peace out.